Picture this. It's the middle of the night. You wake up and the room is completely dark. In that first second before your brain catches up, something happens. Your heart rate jumps. Your body tenses. Your eyes start searching. You didn't decide to do any of that. Your body just did it, and it has been doing it for 300,000 years. Most people think the fear of the dark is something you're supposed to grow out of, a kid thing, something left over from bedtime stories and scary movies. But here's what nobody tells you. Scientists who study fear have found something that changes that idea completely. The fear of the dark isn't learned. It isn't a phase. It's built into your body at a level so deep that no amount of logic can fully turn it off. And the reason why takes us back to a world most people have never thought about. Before houses, before walls, before electricity, before anything we would recognize as civilization. There was just the night, and the night was not safe. Your ancestors didn't have doors to lock. They didn't have lights to switch on. When the sun went down, the world got dark fast. And in that darkness, things moved that could kill them. Not metaphorically, not in a scary story kind of way. Literally, real animals, real predators, real threats that had spent millions of years learning how to hunt in the dark. And here's the part that most people miss. Those predators were not just dangerous. They were specifically built for the dark in ways your ancestors could never match. Lions can see 6 times better than humans at night. Their eyes have a special reflective layer behind the retina that captures every available particle of light. In conditions where you would see almost nothing, a lion sees clearly. Leopards are even more specialized. They hunt alone, in total silence, using darkness as their primary weapon. They can carry prey twice their own body weight up a tree in complete darkness, a behavior specifically evolved to keep kills away from competing predators, and they are almost completely silent when they move. But the predator that prehistory researchers believe may have posed the greatest consistent threat to early humans at night wasn't a lion or a leopard. It was the spotted hyena, and specifically its ancient relative, the cave hyena, larger than the modern version, heavier. With jaws powerful enough to crush bone and night vision sharp enough to track a moving target across open ground under nothing but starlight. Cave hyenas didn't just hunt at night, they preferred it. And fossil evidence from multiple prehistoric sites across Africa shows their remains mixed with early human remains. At the same locations, across the same time periods, across hundreds of thousands of years. They weren't just sharing the landscape with your ancestors. In many cases, they were competing directly for the same caves, the same food, and the same dark hours. Early humans had none of the night vision these animals had. They couldn't see in the dark. They couldn't smell a predator until it was dangerously close. They couldn't outrun a hyena or outclimb a leopard in conditions where every movement gave away their position and every sound told something exactly where they were. What they had was fire. They had each other. And they had fear. So now we know 2 things. The dark was genuinely dangerous, and your ancestors were genuinely disadvantaged in it. But here's the question that changes everything. Why does that fear still live in you today? Think about it. You live in a house. You have locks. You have lights. The last time a leopard was a realistic threat to your life was probably never. And yet when the room goes dark, your body doesn't wait for your brain to run through the logic. It reacts. Immediately. Automatically. Like it already knows something is wrong. That's not a glitch. That's inheritance. Your brain has a region called the amygdala. It's small, about the size of an almond. And its entire job is to detect threats and respond to them before you even know what's happening. It doesn't reason. It doesn't weigh evidence. It doesn't wait for you to think. It sees darkness and it fires. Here's what that actually feels like in your body. The moment your amygdala registers a threat, real or not, it sends a signal that releases adrenaline into your bloodstream. Your heart rate increases. Your pupils dilate to let in more light. Your muscles tense and prepare to move. Your hearing sharpens. Your skin becomes more sensitive. All of this happens in less than a second, before you formed a single conscious thought. Scientists call it the threat detection response. Your ancestors called it staying alive. And here's the part that really matters. The amygdala doesn't distinguish between a real threat and a perceived one. It doesn't care that you're in a bedroom in the 21st century. It doesn't update its threat database based on your current living situation. It was calibrated over hundreds of thousands of years in an environment where darkness genuinely meant danger. And it is still running that same calibration today. The humans whose amygdalas fired fastest, the ones who were most alert, most afraid, most ready to move at the first sign of something wrong, survived more nights than the ones who weren't. Over hundreds of thousands of years, that trait was selected for. The calm ones got taken. The scared ones made it. Your fear of the dark is not a weakness. It is a family heirloom, passed down through every ancestor who was frightened enough to stay alive. But let's go deeper, because the story gets stranger. Archaeologists digging through prehistoric sites found something that nobody expected. Evidence that early humans didn't just fear the dark. They organized their entire lives around managing it. They built fires at the entrance of shelters. Not for warmth first, but for light. The fire was a wall. A line between the world they controlled and the world that controlled them. And prehistoric camps were almost always arranged in a specific way. Not randomly, in a circle around a central fire. Because a circle has no blind spots. Everyone can see every direction. The fire pushes the darkness back equally on all sides, and anything moving toward the camp from any direction passes through the light before it reaches the people. Think about what that means. No written language, no formal architecture, no engineering education, and yet these groups independently figured out the optimal defensive geometry for surviving a dark night. Not once, not in one place. Consistently. Across multiple continents, across hundreds of thousands of years, because the stakes were high enough that getting it wrong meant not waking up. There's something else they did that most people never think about. They assigned watch duty. Someone stayed awake while everyone else slept. Not by accident. Not because one person happened to be a light sleeper. By design. Deliberately. As a system. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer groups found evidence of this practice still in place. Multiple people in a group sleeping in staggered intervals so that at any given point in the night, at least one person is awake and watching the darkness beyond the fire. Your ancestors built the first security system in human history, and it ran entirely on fear of the dark. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Researchers studying those same modern hunter-gatherer groups found something remarkable about what happens around the fire at night. During the day, conversations are mostly practical. Where to hunt? What to gather? Who did what? Problems to solve. But at night, around the fire, something shifts completely. The conversations become stories, myths, warnings, tales about what lives in the darkness beyond the firelight. In other words, the first stories humans ever told were about the dark. That is not a coincidence. Those stories were technology. They were how prehistoric groups passed down survival information across generations without writing it down. Don't go past the fire at night. Don't wander alone after dark. Here is what happened to the person who did. The fear wasn't just something you felt in your body. It was something you were taught. Woven into every story, every warning, every piece of knowledge that passed from parent to child around a fire in the dark. You inherited all of it. The physical response in your amygdala. The cultural weight of thousands of generations of warnings. The deep memory of a world where darkness was the most dangerous place you could be. Which is why no amount of knowing your room is safe completely turns it off. Here's something worth sitting with. The next time the lights go out and your body does that thing, that involuntary alertness, that scanning of the room, that split second of something that feels embarrassingly like fear, that isn't your brain failing you. That's 300,000 years of your family keeping you alive. Every ancestor you have survived enough dark nights to have children. And their children survived. And their children survived. All the way down to you. Lying in your bed. In a dark room. With a heart rate that jumped before your brain could even form a thought. You aren't irrational. You're ancient. And the dark? It hasn't changed. We just built enough lights to forget what was in it.